You know, Marnie, there are many aspects that the role of music has in sports. And the relationship between the two, whether, for example, music is used to celebrate a sport or sporting moment, to provide a musical narrative to a sporting story, to be used as a medium for sporting aesthetic, to provide musical representation of sports, physicality, and bodily movement, and for music and song to be used as an expression of fandom and as a means to strengthen common identity.
Spitawakasi, have you ever thought of being a wrestler? How about a boxer? A dart player? Sumo wrestler? Or perhaps you just love a few pump-up tunes when you're running the coulees, riding your bike through the res roads, or pumping some iron. The one thing that sport has in common is that the competitor generally has an entrance song or a walk-up song. So tonight, we will be playing walk-up songs for what we thought would be a potential walk-up song for these inductees based on the year that they played. Now I have the great pleasure to introduce you to our guest speaker for the evening. His Blackfoot name is Nina Peaksey, Dr. Mike Brewsted. He's an elder, cultural advisor, a professor at the University of Calgary, a mentor, and a friend. Please join me in welcoming our guest speaker for the evening, Nina Peaksey.
Okay. Git khna iksumatsin okhpo iksumatsim okhpoan khatakkoy. Nistonakok ninapiks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Bird, the Eagle Spirit. Mike Brewsted, my Indian registry name. I am last year was the first time I attended a ceremony like this to honor my uncle, Dennis Chief Moon. He's never been to a crowd. He's never been to a banquet. His grandchildren were able to get him out of his house. And so I'm glad he came. You'll see his name on the program. Before I get into my presentation, Marnie mentioned murdered and missing women. I have a grandson that's running with his uncle, John Bershenbone, Slamiksosaki. My grandson, Mackenzie, Namayach Goinimani. They started about a month ago. Started on, as they call the rock, Newfoundland. They ran across Newfoundland, got on the ferry to Sydney, Nova Scotia. All the way down to Sydney, Nova Scotia, into New Brunswick, and my daughter, Melissa, took them across the Confederation Bridge to visit them in Prince Edward Island at the Abequat First Nations, where my wife is from, Barb. And the chief over there was so overwhelmed. The theme, murdered and missing women, and every child matters. And so the chief put them up, bought them rooms in Charlottetown, fed them. And they want the group to stay. There's about 8 of them. But they wanted to get back on schedule, and you can't run across the Confederation Bridge, which is just right over the ocean. So they start their run again, picked it up in New Brunswick, through Moncton, and into northern New Brunswick, to a Maliseet First Nations Reserve, Tobic Indian Reserve. Again, the people honored them. The chief and council and a lady gave them food, money, everything, and a place to sleep. Then they took off and around Rivière-du-Loup into province of Quebec, down to Quebec, and the police advised them, the Quebec provincial police, not to run through the freeways of Montreal because it's pretty crazy. And I've been on that road. It is crazy for their own safety. And to pick up their run outside Montreal, and they're pretty close. If not, they're into Ontario. And I've got a grandson that's like a hermit. And he's met so many people. Hopefully he's breaks his shell and he'll talk, and very shy guy. And they hope to run through here in July, all the way to put their feet in the Pacific Ocean. And so they're getting a lot of coverage now. And John Bashambone is 64, 65 years old. He's no spring chicken, but he trained for this run. And when they get to Siksikai, the runners that we were in 1980, the ones that are still alive, we're going to meet them at Trans-Canada by Gleason and Clooney, just to encourage them. And that's a long run. We ran to Ottawa in 1980, and there was no 509. We ran Fort Macleod, Balkan, and from there Trans-Canada. We ran 2,200 miles in 24 days. We relayed a bundle that Laurie Plum, all those elders, Joe's son, told us that bundle not even to sit in a vehicle if we really meant what we were going to run. So they gave us their blessing, and that bundle never even came close to the vehicles. It was strapped, and we ran with it. And so I don't know what my grandson thought. Well, maybe he thought, Grandpa did it, I can do it, but he's going to run double the distance I'm running in all of them. So I just want to acknowledge the runners, and some of you, if not all of you, can Google Not Be Runners, and you'll get the updates on that. So that's the first I wanted to say before I get into my topic. I just want to talk about, I took him as an uncle, Rufus Goodstriker. Him and my dad, Chester Bruce, had worked together in the chuck wagon races, out riding, driving, Calgary Stampede, wild cow milking, wild horse race. They pretty much did all the events. And the odd time they won the Day Money Awards. My dad had a buckle Day Money winner, and so that was their summer. A lot of the Indian cowboys got recruited to work at Universal Studios, Hollywood, California, and one of those was my dad, and Rufus was going to join him. I don't know what happened, and to do stunt work on the old black and white, some of the silent movies and some of the upgraded movies, driving stagecoaches, etc. So my dad spent 2 years down there, but he kept in touch with Rufus because both of them were also bullfighters, rodeo clown bullfighters. Rufus got injured, and it was a rodeo, I think it was in Washington, where a guy named Wick Peth jumped off the chutes and held Rufus from the back and the bull hit Rufus. And this other rodeo clown was so jealous because they got the contract and he didn't. And it injured Rufus. And my dad was pretty upset. They went after the guy, Wick Peth. And he thought it was so funny seeing a bull get hit, to hit an Indian rodeo clown, bullfighter. Anyways, they're tough people, both in shape. When I was young, Rufus for 4 years picked me up at our house in Standoff to go to his summer youth camp, Crossbell, to train and ride his horses. He didn't want the other young campers, and I got the wild son of a guns and trained them pretty good. Spent all summer up in the mountains and I was always had this love for the mountains, and I still do a lot of work for the mountains. And so the picture that you see there, it's right on the Continental Divide. Last July 10th, I rode up Red Rock Canyon, up that way to Upper Twin Lakes to Sage Pass. A pass that is about maybe 1,000,000 years old, animal trail that we slowly used as Blackfoot to go over the mountains. And we had our own name, and I'm looking for that name besides Sage Pass. That horse you say, Blue, is right on the Continental Divide, Alberta, BC. And we had a spiritual experience there, me and my brothers, Bill and Dexter, and their sons, and 11 of us. Something happened there, singing and people talking. Even the horses you see there, their ears were going like that. They weren't shaking. In our language, we'd say tapisco. There was a presence. And so that was a 9-hour ride. Prior to that, in 2021, September, it kind of snowed. It was too muddy. We couldn't go up that pass. And that was a 7-hour ride. And this time we went up Anderson, Mount Bowerman, and around the valley where the waterfall is. We came out through there. I always wanted to do that, being part of the horse culture. Which brings me, and again, Rufus taught me a lot of stuff. I admired him, and they used to have a whole bunch of pictures in that old log dining room. Really enjoyed it, and I was hoping that he'd keep me there for the whole fall time. That way I didn't have to go to boarding school, but that didn't work. So maybe I should have hid in the mountains, and today I'll be a mountain man or something. Now, let me begin. A lot of you may have read a 10,000-page recording. I want to give recognition to Lisa Kozaleski for taping me, transcribing. It's actually a 10-page story that she was able to condense into 2 pages. And so I want to break athletics, our physical attribution as Blackfoot people. As we would say, long, long time ago. We're runners, throwers, hunters. We're very agile as Siksikaitsitapi. I bet you we've ran and swam across every water system from even past North Saskatchewan River, Edmonton, all the way even past Yellowstone River to the east and even over to the mountains, climbing and even running up mountains. We're very athletic in our own time. And what made us athletic was that everything, our whole environment was a utopian world. We had buffalo, enid, the elk, the split-hoof animals, a very well diet, no artificial ingredients in our natural foods. And so that created our anatomy, our red and white blood cells to be formatted in a very perfect way. I hear stories our women was nothing abnormal, standing 6 feet to 6'4", 6'5". Our men even taller, 6'8", 6'10", the Blackfoot people, all the tribes, really tall people. And 2 things that come is running and swimming. That were just natural capabilities. Way before we called it sports. Way before we called it athletics. We were just natural, fine athletes, born. If we were here 60,000 years ago, that's how we've been. Because they only had one chance to throw that arrow, to shoot that bow. We had our own math, how high to raise that bow, how high to raise that spear to land over there and have a one-shot deal, because these animals are pretty fast. That's why we have buffalo jumps, buffalo runners. We had scouts running all over, coming back to check the enemy, the game, where to camp, the good food, the wood for fire. The second period kind of comes with the horse culture. And again, you could read more, and if you want to really get all that stuff, pay a visit to Lisa at the college. She'll tell you the rest of the story. So the horse culture, we adapted very quickly. And speed dialing the story, because you could read the printed version, we adapted to the horse. War, battle, moving, travel, everything that we could maximize the usage of the horse. And then horse racing. We had our own Indian relays way before its time. And using natural landmarks, running. And these weren't just 5-minute races. These are like all-day, 2-day races. We've been running horses for a long time. Today we call it Indian relay. But we've been doing this for a long time. No saddle, no nothing, except just a rawhide bridle. And so with that horse culture, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, we adapted to the sport of rodeo. And I included a few, and there's a whole lot more. National world champions. I highlighted Tom Three-Person, 1912. They tried to jip him out of winning the championship, but he was the only one that stayed on, and he won the Calgary Stampede first ever. My grandfather, 1924, 26, they almost didn't give him his championship cup. But there were so many people there, they had to give it to him. They were actually looking for the second best time who may not be native to give it to them, but they had to. So there was that direct and subtlety of racism, of discrimination. We battled through all that. And then boarding school. That's where organized sports started, especially hockey. And I always wanted, I don't know where they got all the skates, the river, the pond hockey. And slowly they organized concept of individual athletic skills to team sports. You could see the manifestation of changing to team, football, and individually boxing. All that started majority of the time in boarding school. And I hear stories they would play hockey or the sport all day, so that way they don't have to go into the buildings called residential schools. That's how they coped with the atrocities, a lot of them. They devoted their energies to athletic sports out in the cold because they didn't want to go into the buildings called boarding schools, because you know the rest of the story. And so in the 1900s, team sports came, outdoor, but everybody was a runner, even the girls, long distance, short distance. You could see that transformation of our genealogy built into us, still running. Today we still run. And so from the sports world, slowly facilities, ball diamonds, hockey rinks, football fields, gymnasiums slowly were built. There was a gap there. All preserved, they had facilities, good 20, 30, 40 years. We caught up in a short time. The Indian agent, the priests, they didn't advocate for that kind. They want everybody just to play sports on the reserve. There was hardly anybody that left the reserve. But in boxing, they had no choice. In the 50s, 60s, Rufus was a coach. Max Gibb will tell you the rest of the story. My Uncle Dennis, Eddie First Rider, Gus Caprope, Mr. Eagle Plum, a whole bunch of them. All good boxers, knockout punchers. They were slim, but they could knock people out. And there were a lot of champions, and they have been fully recognized. This is the tip of the iceberg. So as we come along, then we started having school sports, university sports, slowly. And there's still some work that needs to be at the post-secondary level of our Blackwood athletes to fully participate. It's still a little bit there. Let me talk about myself. But let me talk about my teammates. In the 70s, 3 years, we had an 84-game basketball winning streak. Somehow, the Irish embassy heard about us. So, Tony Duhame, Gerald Telfeathers, Jim Gladstone, or Jim Goodstriker, Jim Twig, they worked on it, and we toured Ireland in 1974. Bunch of crazy high school blood Indians. That was the first time all of us, I got benched for racking up the score. We were supposed to be good visitors, and the coaches told us to keep the score down, and us guys, hey boys, let's hit 200. One score was 148-34. Another score was 120-12. These were high schools we played. They thought we were a college team. We weren't. We weren't. So we toured Dublin, the countryside, and there was a big tournament called Glen Abbey International. 38 or 34 teams from the States, Scotland, Ireland, England, all over, different countries. And so they let us play in there. Oxford University in London had 5 starting black Americans, and the shortest was 6'6". Our tallest guy was 6'6". And so that was the caliber of competition. Out of those 34, 38 teams, we came in 8th. Not too shabby for our high school players. And we always wanted to have a reunion because some of the players have passed on from the 1974. And so you could see our endurance, our capabilities. And all of us should have been recruited every university across the country. After that, but we weren't. We weren't. It sounds like we need to stand our heads and 2 cartwheels, whatever magic. We were not scouted. We were not offered scholarships. Then, 1976, this time the Japanese embassy and our Japanese interpreters, we toured Japan. Japan, Osaka, Hiroshima, Hachinohe, Sapporo, 8 different cities. And again, Jim Goodstriker, Dean Plum, Jim Twig. They were our chaperones. And I'm going to talk about my brother Jim Goodstriker in a bit. They helped arrange the agenda. We packed every house, similar to Ireland. We packed every stadium. And this NMAX, just take the top floor. Some of the gymnasiums are half the size of right here. And the Japanese didn't know who to cheer for. They cheered for their own high school teams. And the players that were, they had a system. These were junior national teams, and then to national teams, and then to Olympics. There were 2 or 3 levels from their Olympic teams. That was a higher caliber of teams we played. 4-4. We lost 4, we won 4. And the games that we lost by 1. We went into 6 overtimes. and everybody was going nuts. It took us 3 hours, every facility, to get out of there. You open the door, autographs, and gee, just like getting knocked around. And it's kind of like a dream. Again, we come home, darn good basketball players. I never got recruited, point guard. I could run as fast as I can dribble. I never got recruited. There's still there, that invisible line. And today, it might still be there. We're starting to get Blackfoot hockey scouts to open the doors. Now we're starting to understand the game of how participate. Scouting. I think we need to have scouts in just about every sport that's available in southern Alberta and all of Canada. We need to go another level. So all this, imagine, from way back 20, 30,000 years ago to how we see athletics and sports. I brought this. This is only 50 were made. This poster, I received it as a gift, along with me and Jim Goodstriker. We were the 2 reps to the committee to start the North American Indigenous Games. John Fletcher from Piikani, Charlie Wood, Willie Littlechild, Terry Lusty. There was 8 or 9 of us, the core group. And we were kind of ridiculed. And I talked to my brother, Jim, gee, we're not getting too much support. And he said, no, it's going to happen. Because he used to ride with me. I'd pick him up, yeah, let's go. A lot of meetings in Edmonton. And so the first North American Indigenous Games, 1990. All the different sports, judo, karate, basketball, swimming, and now wrestling. I think there's 24 sports. We have elevated to that high. And I'll guarantee you, those athletes, a few, may be recruited. And that's why we went North American Indigenous Games, because our kids, our athletes, were not being allowed to participate at a higher level. So we did our own thing. And we're still doing it today. There was mention of IRC Rodeo. Rufus, Ken Tailfeathers, Fred Gladstone, all those people started that. There was a reason. Some of them were able to join professional ranks of rodeo. And some weren't. Were given a good mark. I know that. I tried the pros. I went back to Indian Rodeo Cowboys Association. And now today we have our own Indian National Finals in Las Vegas for Native Americans, Canada, and the United States. We had to do that because we were not given that equal participation of athletics. Jim Gladstone broke it when the finals were in Oklahoma City in the 70s to win PRCA World Championship cap roping. And there was a parade for him that honored him in Cardston. And we all cheered for him, a fellow tribe. Kind of like Tom Three Person way back then. Today we have a lot of blood reserve cowboys. Our brother won twice World Indian Bareback Championship, and his son twice. Calvin Fox, Andrew Hunt, just to mention a few. Darn good cowboys that could have competed with the rest of the crowd if they were allowed to. But somehow it didn't work that way. I'm only saying this to give a message here. We have to close the gap. in scholarships. All my brothers received sports rodeo scholarships, but they got it from the States. Central Wyoming College, Navajo Community College, Pocatello, Idaho State, Twin Falls, Idaho, and a lot more. Bunny Standing Alone, a lot of them, late Bunny, received scholarships to attend those. Nothing on this side, because there's no such thing as rodeo scholarships in Canada. If there is, I haven't heard any. And so there's a lot of door openings. I'm just looking at those doors, that door, that need to be opened. And take my grandchildren, our grandchildren, for the sake of their athletic abilities and not the color of their skin. Not to be judged. I got a nephew, Riker, slowly rose to the top playing for Codell. And he was one of the star players. A player from Tabor in playoffs called him, "Hey, you lazy, stinking, drunken Indian, go back to the reserve." But get this, it's so crazy nowadays. When the season begins, we tell our kids, grandchildren, be prepared for these kind of remarks. Somebody might call you, make fun of you. And so Riker was prepared by his parents. He turned around and told a key player from Tabor, "You go back to Europe. This is our land." Imagine talking like that on the ice when it should just be a hockey game. It's sad. Sad reality today. All of you, I give you a message. If you're in athletics or your kids are in sports or trainers, tell everybody to knock it off. To accept Blackfoot kids and other First Nations kids for their athletic abilities. You go down Galt Gardens. All those I get ridiculed, their heads like this. Most of them, not all of them, are ex-high school athletes over there. High school students, some college, that were not given the opportunity of athletics, employment, housing, whatever. Where are you supposed to go to? Some of them just want to wake up dead because there's no other opportunities. I have ex-basketball players, and I was coaching football. St. Mary's or kind of high school, walking the streets. And I'm glad it's summertime, so that way they don't freeze today. So before you put a label on them, thinking about them, and some were track athletes too, it saddens me. But I guess that's how the world works, not by our standards. You know, only a few will make it, the rest are on the wayside. But it hurts like hell when you're not given even an opportunity to prove your worth and you're labeled. So let me turn this around, more of a positive thing. Let me go back to the games. They've been held in Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Toronto, Halifax now, Denver, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Albuquerque, Seattle, Vancouver. These games bring money to the city, like how Olympics brings money. Motels, restaurants, sportswear, swimming pools, clothing, on and on. Cities are fighting over the North American indigenous game because there's an economic opportunity. Economic opportunity. This is how the games were held in Vancouver. Look at the millions, if not billions. This summer, Halifax and the surrounding communities that they don't have enough hotels in Halifax, they're going to make millions. on Canadian and American athletes, Indigenous, First Nations, Native American, whatever you want to call us. And that's how far. So people are not laughing at us. They're not laughing at me and Jim Goodstriker. Me and Jim had to believe in ourselves. Gee, should we go to another meeting? What is this all BS? Because Jim shot straight. And we said, let's keep going. It's going to happen. And it did. We had the marching of the athletes. They had to shut some of the main streets down in Edmonton by the Butter Dome. And the two biggest marching in of athletes at the Denver football stadium, all the way around Blood Tribe, we left, those still states and province athletes still coming in. Same thing in Minneapolis. And I'm glad I stuck it out. I was the youngest of that committee. Charlie Wood's still around. Willie Little Child. There might just be four of us. John Fletcher's gone. Terry Lusty's gone. Jim Goodstriker's gone. But hopefully that legacy continues. To give our coaches level 3, 4 opportunities to coach, an outlet for my two granddaughters, soccer and basketball. And I hopefully, my granddaughter's middle school, she's going to Las Vegas next week. She plays for a boys' team. That's how good she is. And if there's any basketball coaches here, thank you. Recruit her. Recruit her. I'm actually demanding it because she's only in grade 7. And she's a 3-point shooter. I don't want her to go through what I went through, what my own kids went through. Miles gave up football. So I just want to end on a note. I've got a picture here, if somebody can hold it up. And if my coach, track and field coach, George Gamer, can stand up. George. Here's a picture when you held track and field clinics, 1974-75. Right here. He coached me in high school, and then he coached me 4 years at the University of Lethbridge. And a little bit longer notice, I would have found the other picture with late wife Carol and the other track and field athletes from the Blood Reserve. He's still in mighty good shape right now. He doesn't even limp, and I'm way younger than him, and I'm dragging my butt up the stairs, you know. And so I give a lot of thanks to track and field. George made me run 4 years straight training, a high-level performance. And he knows it. I missed out. Canadian track team, Pan American Games, Commonwealth. I lucked out on after 4 years. At the end of 4 years, I didn't know what to do. Trained 4 years. I turned it around and started the Blood Reserve Track and Field Club, just as an outlet. And we won a heck of a lot of Alberta Indigenous Games medals and medals at the North American Indigenous Games. So whatever messages you could get from my presentation, take it to heart. Let our grandchildren participate with your grandchildren. Allow our grandchildren to excel in their athletic skills. And don't judge them or cut them from the team just because their skin is a little bit darker than everybody else. Let's make sports and athletics as the united thread for a better world that we're calling truth and reconciliation. Let us adopt that truth and reconciliation into the world of sports, because it's not really there. Let's have Lethbridge spearhead this truth and reconciliation in sports. And that will give the city of Lethbridge a damn good name. So thank you for listening to me. And somebody said, "Doctor, I'm sick." And I told him, "Geez, I can only prescribe Vicks and Pepto-Bismol." So, you know. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. One more round of applause for Dr. Mike Brewsted. Nina Peak, see? You know, it's very important, as Dr. Brewsted pointed out to us this evening, that we are in a time of reconciliation. But before we can have reconciliation, we must have those hard, truthful conversations. So thank you very much for driving that conversation for us this evening, Dr. Brewsted. We're very appreciative of your mighty words that you spoke this evening. So without further ado, I will call upon our chair of the Sports Hall of Fame, and presenting our award this evening is our chair, Paul Kingsmith. So our first inductee this evening is in the athlete category, and we'd like to congratulate Ashley Patzer. She is widely regarded as one of the most successful rugby players in Canadian history. Before exploding onto the international scene, she began her career at home in Lethbridge, picking up the sport while in grade 10 at Lethbridge Collegiate Institute. Before joining the University of Lethbridge Pronghorns, where she helped turn the program into a national powerhouse, she broke through in her sophomore season, earning Canada West MVP honors as the U of L won its first conference title and finished in third place at the CIS Nationals. It would be the last time in her university career that the Pronghorns did not finish. It would be atop the podium, as the team went on to win conference and national titles in 2007, 2008, and 2009. Patzer earned national honors each year as an All-Canadian in 2007, in the 2007 2000 CIS tournament MVP in 2008, and CIS MVP in 2009. Patzer capped her career in style as a member of the Canadian team that won a bronze medal at the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She scored 2 tries in the tournament, including a crucial try in Canada's quarterfinal win over France. She retired from international rugby in 2017, but her legacy as one of the greatest rugby players in Canadian history lives on, as her contributions to the sport have helped raise the profile of women's rugby in Canada and around the world. So please join me in welcoming Ashley to the Hall of Fame. And so we chose a walk-up song from her time as a participant in rugby, and what her walk-up song we're bringing it up is "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift. Round of applause for Ashley Patzer.
You can have a picture with the chair here.
We appreciate it. Anybody got a remote for this to put it down a little bit? I'm just kidding. I'm kind of short. Okay, I just want to say, Marnie and Lowell, you guys have been doing an amazing job. Can we give them a round of applause? And Marnie, you look amazing in that dress. You're beautiful. And thank you, Dr. Mike Brucehead, for your contribution tonight. That was a beautiful conversation that we were able to be a part of, so thank you for doing that. And I want to say congrats to all of the inductees tonight. It's an amazing feeling to be inducted with so many wonderful humans who have contributed so much to sport in Lethbridge and Southern Alberta. I am incredibly grateful and honored to be here tonight. Just looking around at the special humans in this room, so many people who have had such a huge impact on my career. I feel incredibly grateful to be here. I think back to being in junior high and just being a little girl here in Lethbridge, having some big sports dreams, being bribed by my dad to play basketball in grade 7 by giving me contacts because I was a little bit of a nerd and wore glasses, and I just love sports. I loved the competition. I loved teamwork. I loved setting and achieving goals, and that's really driven me throughout my entire career and past and into my life after sport. And after Paul gave a call to me about this induction, I've really been reflecting back on what it all means, on what sports meant in my life. And being retired for almost 6 years now, just thinking about all of the accomplishments, all of the things that you spoke about that I achieved, reflecting back on that, like, what does that mean? And I've really come to the conclusion that it's not about the medals. It's not about the win-loss record. It's not about the awards. It's not even about this induction. Being involved in sport, for me, is all about the connections that I've been able to have with so many amazing people, lots of them here in this room. I can't go without thanking my pronghorn coaches, Neil and Toby and JJ and Norm. Really, you guys have had such an amazing impact in my life. So many of my teammates here, Chelsea and Missy and Kim and Lynn, I'm so grateful. Like, sport has just been able to create amazing connections in my life. And the experiences that I've been able to have, being able to travel the world, being able to experience different cultures, meet amazing humans, and really the lessons that I've learned through sport that have made me me. And being able to go through setbacks and injuries and what that's illuminated for me in my life. It's really illuminated my resilience and my grit, and I've been able to take that outside of sport and apply it into my life. And also the opportunity to inspire others along the way, being able to play on one of the biggest sporting stages in the world, and the feeling of the reaction from Canadians after winning our bronze medal, and mothers telling us that their daughters want to play rugby after watching us play. Being able to have that sort of impact and ability to inspire, it means the world to me. And driving back to Lethbridge today, I'm living in Edmonton right now, just brought back such a flood of emotions of living in this amazing city and being able to have been brought up in this city and play sports in this city. And I'm very, very grateful to have been able to represent Lethbridge across Canada, across North America, and across the globe and all of the places that I've played. And I hold Lethbridge really, really near and dear to my heart. And I just want to give a very huge thank you to the board. Thank you guys so much for the nomination. Thank you for trusting in me and nominating me and letting me be in the Hall of Fame. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. So our other inductee this evening is in the athlete category as well. We'd like to congratulate Lanny Tron. When Lanny Tron joined the first track and field team, he had his sights set on being a sprinter. But when legendary Lethbridge track and field coach George Gamir spotted the 6'2", 215-pound teenager ambling down the track, he had different ideas of how to best capitalize on Tron's obvious athleticism. Gamir convinced Tron to try his hand in the throwing circle, a move that led to broken records and international accomplishments. As an advocate for clean sport, Tron's talent earned him national and international opportunities in both shot put and discus as a member of Team Alberta at the 1977 Canada Winter Games in St. John's, Newfoundland, and as a member of Canada's national junior team for a 1978 competition against France. He was awarded the City of Lethbridge's Award for Achievement in Sports in 1977 and in 78 Alberta High School Achievement Award. Skilled is not just the throwing circle, but the classroom as well. Tron set his sights on earning a college scholarship to a good college, as he told the Saskatoon Star Phoenix. He achieved that goal by joining Harvard University in 1978. During his 4 years with the Crimson, Tron was twice awarded a varsity letter in 1981 and 1982, earned the Little Shot Put Award in 1981, and was selected team captain and inducted into the Harvard Varsity Club in 1982. He was selected to represent Harvard in meets against Oxford and Cambridge in England, as well as other track meets in Europe. The life skills learned during competition translated to a successful career as a lawyer after his graduation. So welcome 2023 Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame inductee in the athlete category, Lanny Tron. Unfortunately, is unable to be here tonight, but has sent a statement. He says, "I am humbled and honored to be inducted into the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame. I wish I could be there with you all to celebrate, but I just couldn't make it. First, I want to congratulate all my fellow inductees. Your accomplishments are truly phenomenal. Second, I want to thank all those who sacrificed their time and effort to shape my athletic career. I truly owe you all a debt of gratitude. In particular, I want to thank my coaches, Rod Constable and George Gamir. They put me on the path to compete on a national and international level, and above all, I want to thank my parents for getting me to practices and track meets. I want to thank my brother for being my training partner. Third, I have been very fortunate in my life as an athlete, as an academic, and as a lawyer. I honestly believe that my good fortune was developed and honed in that little town on the banks of the Old Man River in southern Alberta. Finally, I leave you with my life's motto. You can take the boy out of Lethbridge, but you can't take Lethbridge out of the boy." Thank you all so much. And tonight, George Gamir is here to accept the award on Lanny's behalf. So walk-up song for Lanny, we chose "Hurt So Good" by John Cougar Mellencamp.
Lanny was my athlete, a very talented guy. He eventually get to scholarship in States and further excel in inter-university competition, and he also finish his education. I lost contact with him, but I think we will find him eventually.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. All right, moving along.
Thank you very much, George. Our next inductee is in the builder category. Mitch Ball. He was a legendary umpire in Lethbridge's baseball community, known for his professionalism and mentorship to young umpires. Ball umpired at various levels, including the Western Canadian Baseball League and the Canadian College Baseball Conference, leaving a lasting impact on the sport. Ball was not one to boast about his accomplishments, but they were significant. In 2002, he was behind the plate umpiring the championship game at the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. He represented Canada in the International Baseball Federation World Junior Championship in Edmonton in 2008 and the IBAF World Cup in Europe in 2009. He also umpired the Pan Am Games in 2015 and Tournament 12 in 2016. In 2016, Ball received recognition from the Lethbridge Sport Council for his years of officiating excellence. Ball was a respected and admired umpire in the baseball community, known for his professionalism and mentorship. Off the diamond, Ball was a kind and compassionate individual known for his generosity and community involvement. His passing in 2021 was a tremendous loss to the baseball community, and many have come forward to pay tribute to his memory. The Western Canadian Baseball League honored Ball, stating that he was an inspiration to so many umpires and a great friend to everyone in the baseball community. The Lethbridge Herald described Ball as a larger-than-life figure who had a positive impact on everyone he encountered. Welcome the 2023 Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame inductee in the builder category, Mitch Ball, accepting on his behalf, Jana Ball. And so from when we chose a walk-up song of Low by Flow Rider, and he was Flow Rider, and this is from when Mitch was umpire. These are from the years. We're choosing from the years of their peak performance.
A better song would have been "Pour Some Sugar on Me." That was his favorite. Or the A&W song, the A&W beer song. I just have a printout that one of the umpires had given me to just kind of have a little tidbit of what he did in the umpire community, but you guys read quite a bit of it already, so I'll just kind of read a little bit of what Brandon wrote. Mitch was the embodiment of the umpiring in Southern Alberta. Regardless of the banner of the baseball or umpiring organization, Mitch made an impact on every program he was involved in. He was a program guy. And then talks about his contributions, and what he did. Off the field, Mitch's contributions included instructing various Alberta NUCP clinics from level 1 to super clinics. Mitch served as a provincial umpire, committee member since 2010 in varying capacities, including the level 1 to 3 program portfolio which he led and was most recently involved in the many special projects. Nationally, Mitch served in the Baseball Canada High Performance Committee and was instrumental in delivering the committee's objectives. His passion for baseball and love of the game was the most evident in his enthusiasm he had for mentoring umpires in all levels, both locally in Lethbridge and across the entire country. The Alberta Baseball Committee is forever indebted to Mitch for his time and dedication in which he served to inspire young umpires to grow and develop. Those who are lucky enough to have been impacted by Mitch, there is a little bit of Mitch in all of us. His life produced some of guidance on how we might achieve for all umpires what we inspire for ourselves. As we continue to develop and define our umpire culture in Alberta, we need to look no further for an example in the life of Mitch Ball. He was the definition of what it means to be a program guy. Another umpire who texted me this week said simply, Mitch is who we all aspire to be on and off the field. I just wanted to kind of share my own little thing about Mitch, because Mitch was an umpire, but he was also a father and he was also a husband. We have 6 children, and he was very loved by them as well. But I wanted to share one of my favorite things about him. As an umpire, I had umpire Mitch and I had my Mitch. And every year before the season started, Mitch would pull out all his bins of umpire equipment. Now, all his equipment was always in a box. He had his shirts in a container, he had his pants in a container, his shoes in a container, his socks in a container, and they're all labeled. Mitch was very organized. And as he'd pull it all out and you bring out his umpire bag and he'd start packing it up, and I could hear in the room, and all of a sudden I hear this, "Ooh," and I'd be in the living room and I just would start smiling because I knew what was happening. And I'd get up and I'd walk around the corner, and there would be Mitch in front of our dresser, in front of the mirror, and he'd have his chest protector on and all his equipment, and he'd be practicing his strike calls. And none of you know that, and he's probably not really happy I'm telling any of that right now, but there's nothing he can do about it. But it was so funny and so cute, and I always loved it because he was so excited when the season would start. And I would always bug him, and I'd say, "How you doing over there? You having a good time?" And he'd turn to me, he's like, "Oh, baby, you love a guy in a uniform." And I'd start laughing. It's like, "Yeah, an umpire uniform, super hot." Anyways, that's just the kind of guy he was. Mitch was always kind, and he was generous, and he was just very passive and patient, and just kind of a big softie. And another thing that I loved about watching him was, because of this personality that he had, it was always really fun to see him on the ball field, because when he walked out there, that all changed. He became confident and steady, and he was sure, and no matter his call, he was confident in his calls. He knew what he was doing, and he was good at what he did, and he loved the sport. And so because of that, I loved watching him, because I knew how much he loved it. Mitch also on the field, no matter what the situation was, whether he was being yelled and screamed at, or by a coach, by a player, by anyone in the crowds, he kind of took it all with a grain of salt, and he was always very calm about it. And even though he might have gotten worked up on the field, when he walked off that field, he kept that on the field, and he'd have a smile and a handshake for that coach who just probably screamed at him about 10 minutes before that. Sorry. Which is one of his attributes. Mitch, I could probably count on one hand how many times he talked negatively about another person. That's not what he was about. It was a waste of time to talk about anybody, because everybody had their own thing, and we needed to respect everyone. And that was one of his many great qualities. He hated contention, he hated conflict, and he hated confrontation. He avoided that stuff like the plague. So why he chose to umpire, I'm not really sure. But he did not like any of those things. But when he was on the field, he handled those things really well. And he still loved all the players and all the people. Everybody became his friend. I just have a little thing really quick here that I wanted to read. That was something when he went to the Pan Am Games. He kept a journal. And one of the things he wrote was at the very end on his last day, when he was saying his thank yous, he says, "When you stand on the field and you hear the players, managers, coaches, talking and yelling or whatever, you can feel the intensity. Sometimes it's electric. Sometimes it's so thick that you can cut it with a knife. But for us umpires, there's no pressure. We only feel pressure that we put on ourselves. Each play is as important as the last, and we do our best to make sure we get it right. But to say that we feel pressure, I don't think we feel the same pressure like players do, or the managers do, or that of the organizations that each team represents. To us, it's only the next call that we try to get each and every one right for everybody in the game." And then he says, "Thank you," which is, I think, a good testament of Mitch. He didn't get worked up, and he didn't get super stressed. He just kind of took things minute by minute and day by day, and he was always just a pleasure to be around for everyone. I always try to think what Mitch would say if he was standing up here when he gets these awards, and honestly, I just think he would think somebody else was more deserving than him. But I think he would also be so grateful for the thought and care that everybody put into to give him this award. And so I want to say thank you to the organizations, to the baseball community for for remembering him and loving us and supporting us through all of this. And recognizing him for all his good works, because he was a good man and he deserves all of this. So in Mitch's behalf, I say thank you.
Everything okay over there? Dale. Okay. All right. Another inductee in the builder category is Brian Donaldson. He was a true icon in the world of wrestling, and his life's work was dedicated to improving the lives of young athletes in Lethbridge. As the founder of the Lethbridge Amateur Wrestling Association, Brian spent over 30 years coaching and mentoring hundreds of wrestlers and changing their lives for the better. Brian's passion for wrestling began in 1984 when he started a high school team at Lethbridge Collegiate Institute. His enthusiasm for the sport was infectious, and he quickly gained a following among other schools in the city. This led him to create the Lethbridge Amateur Wrestling Association in 1991, which combined all the schools under one banner and paved the way for a successful program that still exists to this day. As a coach, Brian was tough but fair, and his athletes respected him greatly. He was instrumental in producing numerous provincial and national champions, many of whom went on to compete on the world stage and represent Canada. Brian's commitment to his athletes went beyond the wrestling mat, as he organized exchange trips to Japan and hosted tournaments that drew athletes from across the prairies and British Columbia, as well as the USA. Brian's dedication to the sport of wrestling extended beyond Lethbridge, as he served as an executive member and president of the Alberta Amateur Wrestling Association. His contributions to the sport in the province were immeasurable, and he is considered by many to be one of the founding fathers of wrestling in Alberta. Although Brian passed away in 2021, his legacy lives on through the many athletes whose lives he touched and changed for the better. His program has become multi-generational, and many of his former athletes have gone on to become coaches themselves, ensuring that Brian's passion for wrestling will continue to inspire young athletes in Lethbridge for generations to come. Please welcome 2023 Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame inductee into the builder category, Brian Donaldson. And accepting this award tonight is his daughter, Chelsea Donaldson. And the song that we chose was When Doves Cry by Prince.
Hello. That certainly would not have been Brian's choice for a song. Probably CCR would have been a little bit more appropriate. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you to the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame for having me today to give this speech on behalf of Brian. Accepting an award for someone else, someone who has touched the lives of so many people in sport, everyday life, and when it's a parent, isn't an easy feat. If you've ever met Brian before, you would probably have many things to say about him. He had a way of being tough, but kind and fair. And he had the ability to encourage and mentor students to strive beyond their limits. Sometimes it was tough love, but it came from the heart because he knew you could be a better athlete. He was opinionated and very passionate about sports. You name it, wrestling, hockey, golf, rugby, and especially football. Sport was Brian's passion. In his youth, his family traveled a lot due to his father being in the Canadian Armed Forces. He loved being physically active, which sparked his decision to attend Memorial University in Newfoundland for his undergraduate degree into kinesiology. Upon graduating, he stayed and worked there in their kines division. He promoted sports in St. John's, all around the province, organizing interprofessional or provincial tournaments, and for larger competitions, Canada Winter Games, Summer Games, all of it. Brian then decided he aspired to be a teacher, but he wanted a new challenge. So he applied out west to a few schools, and he chose the University of Lethbridge education program. Graduating from the U of L in the 1970s, he stayed in the Lethbridge area for his entire 30-year career, teaching mostly physical education, some math, and coached youth sports on evenings and all weekends. He enjoyed being a teacher. I feel that it's important to note that his first teaching job was out of town at Standoff, actually. And I find this very fitting with the theme of this year's gala. He spoke fondly of that teaching position. He taught at Hamilton Junior High, which doesn't exist anymore, for many years, and he was associated with Lethbridge Collegiate Institute, where I also went. And I remember his wrestling program expanded to finally having a classroom to keep those wrestling mats and not having to cart them everywhere. They're very heavy. And he cared about wrestling. He also ended his career at the Sifton House in Lethbridge, which I believe is now Victoria Park. And he loved teaching and being involved in the reformation of youth. I remember him saying to me one time, "I'll teach anyone. But the majority of kids do not need heavy mentoring. I want to make a difference with the kids who come to school without breakfast in the morning, who have a hard upbringing, or don't have a lot of support. Sometimes kids need someone to show them that it's important to be passionate about school and sports." And I think that sums up Brian. I don't want to forget some of Brian's other contributions. Some were said earlier, but he brought teams from out of country to Canada to compete, like a Russian team, and he organized an extensive trip to Japan. Many wrestling community members in this room were students on that trip, who are now coaching or on the board. And I know they fondly remember that this is something that sparked their love of the wrestling sport, and at the time, very much enhanced their program. Brian was very heavily involved in the Alberta Amateur Wrestling Association as well, serving as president, as said before. He had an active involvement also in other sports in the city. He frequently volunteered for the Lethbridge Rugby Club. Outside of sport, he was also actively involved in promoting youth to go into the trade sector. That's something he loved, in providing young people the tools to better themselves. And then there's tournaments. I think it's important to note that physical education teachers, volunteers, executive directors do not get enough praise for the time and commitment that they give to the sports that they love. It is a lot of work for very little praise. I want to mention this because volunteering in youth sports has substantially decreased over the past few decades, and it takes many people to run programs, tournaments, or to be on a board of directors. Without these people introducing youth to sports, diminishes. I have many memories of being a part of a team or attending tournaments in my youth. Likely we all do in this room. And although I was never a wrestler, I was still at many practices and wrestling tournaments. And I can attest to the work that's involved in that. Brian would also be very proud of the moves that I remember on how to do with my own children at home. And as said in his bio, Brian created the Lethbridge Amateur Wrestling Association in 1991 after realizing his program was growing and he had a vision for the future. All sports organizations go through challenges like, do we need a larger space? Because there's wonderfully more enrollment, or gosh, we're needing more coaches now. For many years, Brian managed on his own with wrestling, where he probably should have accepted more help. But close to his retirement years, fortunately, Brian found support. I'd like to mention that this award would not have been possible without his nomination from his wrestling family. They are a family, and I think we can all agree that most sport organizations have the ability to create a family. To Kelsey, Pat, the Hansons, all of you, here and not here. He would have been overwhelmed by the nomination. He would be speechless, actually. And that would be rare for him. He was very proud, that the Wrestling Association was taken over by a passionate team after his retirement, and that it has expanded to beyond what he ever envisioned for the program to what it is today. Fozzie would have been so honored. Thank you.
Being inducted into the 2022 team category are the 1979 Lethbridge Senior Little League All-Stars team. Before this team even started its remarkable run all the way to the 1979 Senior Little League World Series berth, head coach Ken Kotkas had a feeling his Lethbridge All-Stars were something special. Speaking to the Lethbridge Herald prior to the playoffs, Kotkas said, "I would say it's kind of a Little League manager's dream team. It's got speed, pitching, hitting, experience. All things considered, it's just about as balanced as a team you could ask for." Kotkas' assessment proved true as his team rolled to a Canadian championship and left a lifelong mark on the lives of the team's players. A young squad composed of mainly 14-year-olds at a level traditionally dominated by 15-year-old players, the Lethbridge team showed great composure at the Western Canadian Championships in Moose Jaw. After losing their opening game to BC representatives Kennedy Surrey in the double elimination tournament, the team could not afford to lose again. They found their stride by posting back-to-back shutouts before hammering Moose Jaw 21-3 to set up a rematch with Kennedy Surrey. This time the Lethbridge team came out on top 4-3 to earn a berth in the tournament, in the national tournament championship, needing to beat Calgary Centennial twice. Lethbridge won the first contest 4-2 and set up a winner-take-all. An early Fred Fromad's 3-run double gave Lethbridge a lead they would never relinquish as the team won 7-3 to claim the Western Canadian Championship. In their first World Series game, the scrappy Lethbridge squad hung in with the team from Tampa Bay that featured 3 future major leaguers, including future National League Cy Young Award winner Dwight Gooden, before falling 7-3. In their must-win game, the Lethbridge side ran out of steam, losing 16-3 to a Los Angeles team to end its season. It was a remarkable run for the Lethbridge side, who helped put the city on the international baseball map. Over the years that followed, members of the team continued to build on their championship legacy by giving back to the community as coaches and builders, cementing their status as local heroes. Please welcome the 2023 Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame inductees in the team category, the 1979 Lethbridge Senior Little League All-Stars team. And their song, their walk-up song that we chose, which was a hit from 1979, was Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart. Accepting the award is Blake and Dale.
All right. First thing I want to say is if you look at the picture of us in 1979, I don't think we have changed at all. Personally speaking, I think I'm doubled in size. First off, I'd like to take a moment to, and I'd like her to stand, I'd like to thank Darcy Tamiosi for the nomination. This was 44 years in the making, and without Darcy nominating us, it doesn't happen. So stand up, please. Secondly, obviously, I would like to congratulate all the other inductees tonight. It's an honor to be included in with this amazing group of athletes and builders. So thank you for that. And lastly, thank you very much to the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame for the honor of being here this evening. And now I'm going to hand it over to the very handsome guy to my right.
All right, so seize the moment. It was a dry, windy summer in 1979 when a young group of 14 and 15-year-olds baseball players gathered to embark on a 1-month journey, literally on the road. We started with a Western championship win in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which led to a national championship in Mississauga, Ontario, that took us south to the U.S., to the Senior Little League World Series, where we got to rub elbows with some of the best players from Asia, South America, and the U.S. Sometimes in life you don't realize what you have accomplished is special, that you had a hand in something that was great. I'm not talking about the teammates, I'm talking about the parents for the sacrifice and the support of this group. They gave us an opportunity to succeed on the road, and which helped lead us to be good men, good husbands, and leaders in the community. So I'd like to thank the moms and dads. to the teammates. I don't think we ever would have thought in the fall of 1979 that when we gathered at the Ball Diamond at Dave Elton that we would walk away for the last time not being a team for a long time. So here we are 44 years later. We've gathered. It's a great opportunity to be here with these guys. We spent a lot of time on the road and become great friends. So here we are tonight. We can enjoy the moment as a team again and spend time with our friends and family and all the athletes and builders here in the room tonight. So enjoy the night.
Thank you, guys. And congratulations again. Last but certainly not least, our final 2023 inductee into the special category is Rufus Goodstriker. Throughout his life, Rufus Goodstriker never found a challenge he wasn't up for. As a sportsman, Goodstriker made his mark in rodeo, chuck wagon racing, boxing, horse racing. And beyond that, he was a chief and leader in the home Kainai community, the best community, right, Lil? A spiritual healer, an Army veteran, a special scout for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, an actor, and a family man. His life reads like a story, which is a testament to how much he accomplished during his 78 years of life. Born in 1924, Goodstriker had a passion for rodeo and a natural inclination around horses. He was a top competitor in the arena, winning the J.B. McDonald High Point Award as the top Indigenous money winner at the Calgary Stampede in 1957 and 1958, becoming the only athlete to ever win the award 2 years in a row. He went on to win many other championships across Western Canada and the United States. And in 1967, he was among a group of some of the top rodeo cowboys from the Blood Reserve who formed the All Indian Rodeo Association, which flourished for decades, leading to the first All Indian Rodeo Finals in Lethbridge in 1969 and the World Indian Rodeo Finals, which were established in Salt Lake City in 1976. He was named a lifetime member of both the All Indian Rodeo Association and the Canadian Rodeo Cowboys Association. Throughout his life, Goodstriker was never far from horses and is remembered as one of the province's top horse trainers over more than 4 decades. Goodstriker's sports accomplishments are just part of the story for a man who was elected chief, a traditional healer, an operator of a dude ranch for youth, and even an actor who appeared in Hollywood movies. But his legacy is best represented through his family, which includes 10 children, 37 grandchildren, and numerous great-grandchildren and other family members. Goodstriker passed away in 2003. Please welcome the 2023 Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame special inductee, Rufus Goodstriker, and accepting on his behalf is his son. And the song we picked, which I think is very fitting, Amarillo by Morning, George Strait. Wilton, Goodstriker.
How about a nice hand for Marnie and Lowell? Beautiful work they're doing. You know, on behalf of my father and our family here, many of us are here. As we indicated, 5 generations are here celebrating with my late father. First of all, we want to congratulate the alumni of the Sports Hall of Fame and the current inductees for this year. Many thanks to Chairman Paul and your Board of Governors for the kind consideration of my late father. You know, my father would have been proud of this moment. He was an athlete for life. He believed in hard work. He left us a legacy of hard work, strong spiritual base, certainly never to forget who we are, and certainly excellence in whatever field we chose to take our life in. I want to thank my brother Max Gibb for certainly, and my sister Rosa, certainly for the nomination and the research, the beautiful work that they've done. You know, many of you probably didn't know that Max and I are brothers. You can see a resemblance. There's only about 4 feet difference between us. You know, we were both jockeys 100 pounds ago. And he almost killed me in one of the races. That 5-furlong race, I'm in the lead, and my saddle fell apart on the first turn. So now I'm on the side of the horse for about 100 yards. Finally had to let go, and these guys all ran over me. But we survived. You know, again, my father left us with a huge legacy. Certainly we could never fill his shoes, but certainly the trail he left for us, we followed as best we could. In the family, we have excellent athletes in many of the sporting events. Baseball, we had a pitcher that ended up, I believe, with the Kansas City system. Record holders in terms of track and field, certainly boxers, rodeo, and the many professionals that are in the family. We have MBAs, master's degrees in many of the various fields, and in the health industry, in education. Certainly we have we also have a funeral director. You don't want to meet him just yet. But Dad always had a firm belief in taking good care of your body. Always respect who you are, respect your body. He always said it begins here before you can respect anybody else or anything else. It needs to begin here. Share the values that I leave with you: compassion, understanding, respect, certainly humility. You know, I only saw him box one time. That was in Vancouver. He took his boxing team. By this time, he'd retired for many years. And the only thing his team didn't have was a heavyweight boxer. So the boys got together and they egged him on. Finally, he put on a pair of boxing gloves and they led him into the ring. Dad had an amazing left jab, and it was one of the quickest fights that I'd ever seen. After several hundred left jabs, the guy's nose disappeared, and he couldn't continue the fight. So Dad won his first heavyweight fight in about 39 seconds. So anyway, again, we want to thank Board of Governors, the Alumni, Sports Hall of Fame, and certainly the current inductees for the beautiful work. And as our father always told us, stay drug-free, substance-free, you'll go far in life. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wilton, for those beautiful words about your father. The Kinsman Club of Lethbridge is pleased to sponsor the annual Sportsperson of the Year Awards. The club has sponsored this award since its inception in 1995. These awards acknowledge individuals for outstanding performance or participation in sports while representing Lethbridge. In 2007, these awards were adjusted to include both a female and male recipient. I ask that Ryan Forsyth, our board as a Kinsman rep this year, come up and join us to present the awards this evening. Oh, there he is. Where is he? He's quick. He's a quick guy. Our first recipient of the 2022 Kinsman Female Athlete of the Year is Janae Shomachuk. Janae Shomachuk is a talented track and field athlete from Airdrie who has made her mark during her first 2 seasons with the University of Lethbridge Pronghorns, becoming one of the top throwers in the country. Shomachuk's athleticism was noticeable from a young age, but it really blossomed with the storied University of Lethbridge track and field team. During her freshman year in 2022, Shomachuk earned her first medal at the Canada West Championships, picking up a bronze in the weight throw, while also finishing 4th in the shot put. In 2023, Shomachuk raised her game to a new level as she went undefeated in weight throw competition, capturing gold at the Golden Bear Classic, Bison Classic, Panda Open, Canada West Championships, and U Sports National Championships. She won Female Performance of the Meet at Canada West Championships and gold at U Sports Championships to become a first-team U Sports All-Star. She also etched her name in the record books with a 18.90 meter throw to win the Canada West Championships, which is the 3rd longest throw in U Sports history. This achievement earned her recognition as the Pronghorns Female Athlete of the Year. Shomachuk's success has not gone unnoticed, and she has been praised for her dedication and hard work. She credits the Pronghorns team-first attitude with helping to feed her success, telling Airdrie Today. The atmosphere and the support within the team has been really well felt, and I think that's definitely contributed to at least part of my performance this year. With 3 years of post-secondary eligibility remaining, Shomachuk's already decorated career is just getting started. Please welcome our 2022 Kinsman Sports Person of the Year, Janae Shomachuk. And the song we chose for her is I Ain't Worried by One Republic.
All right. My first ever thank you speech, so bear with me here. Thank you, Ryan, and to our lovely MCs this evening. And I also want to make sure to start off my speech by saying congratulations to all of the inductees tonight and award winners, congratulations. You know, when I first got the text from Knut Peterson that I was soon to be named the recipient of this award, I was frantically writing a final paper that was due the following day for one of my classes that I had just started that morning. And naturally, in light of this news, my paper was left abandoned as I reread the text from Knut over and over again, trying to comprehend its message. I'm a new resident in Lethbridge. I've only lived here for 2 years, so I have to admit that I didn't know that there was even a sports hall of fame in Lethbridge. So it was a little hard for me at first to really understand just sort of what that text meant. And, you know, my inability to sort of articulate my emotions in that moment is reflected in the appreciation that I hold for those around me, and that words really cannot describe the appreciation and thankfulness that I feel. And I can wholeheartedly say that I would most certainly not be where I am today without the support that I have received from those around me. And this support sprawls across nearly a decade, stemming from my parents, who, since putting me in track and field at the age of 10, have continued to act as a central pillar to my achievements both on and off the field. And I've been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to train under a number of coaches over the years who have all left their mark on me in their own special way. I've been most lucky to find myself now training under Lawrence Steinke, especially during such a formative part of my life as I attempt to traverse the trials and tribulations of university life. The key word here being attempt. I haven't been super successful, but here we are. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge the importance of a few more people who my appreciation also runs deep for, and who have had a significant impact on me in their own way, just as my parents and coaches have. Firstly, the U of L Athletics Department for their support and attentive nature to their student athletes. Secondly, to my teammates who ensure there's never a dull moment at practice, competitions, and everywhere else. And thirdly, to my best friend, Peggy, who I've known for over 10 years and has been an anchor in my life for a very long time. And as well to my recent friends in Lethbridge, Madeline and Randy, who have ensured that I maintain my sanity through everyday life and practicing 2 times a day. To all of these people, thank you. And finally, a thank you to the Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame and Board, who has given me the honor of accepting this award. It is truly humbling to be recognized for my performance in a sport that without, I don't know who or where I'd be today. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Janae. And our final honoree this evening, the 2023 Male Kingsman Sportsperson of the Year, Ridley Gregg. As a first-round draft pick in both the WHL and NHL, high expectations have followed Ridley Gregg around throughout his hockey career. But the expectations are well-founded as the Lethbridge native has achieved success at every level of the game. That was encapsulated during the 2022-23 season, which saw him star for Team Canada before making his mark in professional hockey. After graduating from the WHL's Brandon Wheat Kings, Gregg began his year by representing Canada on the international stage. He was part of the Canadian team that won the gold medal at the 2022 IIHF World Junior Championships, played in August 2022 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. During the tournament, Gregg was a standout player for Canada, showing off his aggressive play and ability to create scoring opportunities for his team. He was twice named Canada's Player of the Game during the 4-game round robin. His tournament would end in disappointment as he missed the gold medal game due to an injury, but his contributions throughout the tournament helped his team toward the top of the podium. Despite the setback, Gregg's impressive performances have earned him recognition as a rising star with the NHL's Ottawa Senators. He has been praised for his work ethic and his ability to adapt to the demands of the game. He is known for his physicality on the ice, as well as his speed and agility. Gregg made his NHL debut with the Senators on January 25th, 2023, in a game against the New York Islanders. He scored his first NHL goal against the St. Louis Blues on February 19th, 2023, and ended his rookie season with 2 goals and 9 points in 20 NHL games, while also playing 39 games with the Senator American Hockey League affiliate in Belleville. He impressed his team and fans alike with his speed, agility, and goal-scoring abilities. Off the ice, Greg is described as a humble and dedicated player who is always looking to improve his skills. He credits his family and his coaches for his success, and he is grateful for the opportunities he has been given to pursue his passion for hockey. Please welcome the 2023 Male Kingsman Sport Person of the Year, Ridley Gregg. And we picked his walk-up song, Narco by Blaster Jack.
All right, I'll be real quick here. First off, I'd like to congratulate the others for being recognized for their success tonight. I'm very grateful for my experience playing with Lethbridge minor hockey growing up here in Lethbridge. Special thanks to Mike, Dick, and my dad for their leadership and coaching. I'd also like to thank the Brandon Wheat Kings and the Ottawa Senators for developing me throughout the past years. Lastly, I'd like to thank my mom for her hard work and everything she's done for me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ridley. Here's your phone.
So at this time, we'd like to call upon our Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame board chair to close us off this evening. We'd like to welcome Toby Boulay.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Lowell. I had to get up a little bit earlier and stretch out a bit because George didn't live coming up here, but I've had a knee replacement and a bunch of ankle surgery, so I couldn't let that 96-year-old show up the 59-year-old up here. So I did the best I could, George. Sorry, I still limped a bit. Okay, Lowell and Marnie did a great job, as did so many people. The celebration of people and their accomplishments is always a very special moment in time for me. Your presence here tonight reflects your passion for sport, but more importantly, your presence speaks to your character of your support for your friend, your family member, or for someone you just met, or sport itself. I just met Ridley tonight, and what a great young man he was. He almost laughed at my joke. I was like, almost. I want to thank the people who made this wonderful 2023 Sports Hall of Fame banquet happen tonight. It takes a village to raise a child. We've heard that 3 or 4 times tonight, but it also takes a village to celebrate this child and their success. So thank you for coming, but I'm not done yet. The Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame is made up of caring individuals that want to serve sport and celebrate the successes. I'm honored to learn and work alongside these individuals, and I'm excited to serve as our historical sporting community in the next coming year as the chair. I think my wife Bernie is excited as well, as keeping me busy allows some sanity in our lives. I have less ideas at home then, right? She's now nodding with her. Finally, I want to congratulate all the inductees on your legacy of sport and kindness. I was fortunate to watch, to manage, coach, compete with. Yeah, I played rugby with Brian Donaldson. That's about the only one I could compete with here. Learn from, brag about, enjoy a story, and maybe even a beer with most of these wonderful people. Each is amazing in their own way, and their stories need to be told and repeated over and over and over again. I met Mitch Ball 3 or 4 times, and the last time was when he was measuring up the display case at the Logan Boulay Arena for my son. He's a great guy. A great guy. To the Q Kinsman Sportspersons of the Year, time will prove that your continued commitment to your craft will be immense as your toolbox of life continues to fill. Not unlike your storybook of adventure and wonderment. Just remember today and think of the support and kindness that your new family in sport has given you. Then when you stumble, and you will stumble, know that all of us here today stumbled and fell, often more than once. But we all got back up, and you will too. Thank you for coming tonight, and we'll see you, hopefully some of you next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Okay, so careful. Okay. Okay. As you've seen tonight, this is another incredible example of the power of sport. The stories of our inductees and award winners are inspiring and worth remembering and sharing as we work to inspire the next generations who will one day join you in this hall. On behalf of our board of directors, thank you for supporting the Lethbridge Sport Hall of Fame. It has been a great honor to MC this year's Lethbridge Sports Hall of Fame induction banquet, together with my co-MC, Spitawakasi.
Thank you very much, Marnie. We need nominees, so if you know a deserving honoree, please go to lethbridgesportshalloffame.com to learn more and submit a nomination package. And please support us by visiting our permanent site at the Cavendish Center, formerly the ATB Center, on the west side of Lethbridge. We are proud that this is now live and can tell the stories of each of you and all of our past inductees. So these displays will be set up in the Cavendish Center, and you're welcome to go visit them free of charge. So thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And please get home safe. And once again, congratulations to all the athletes being recognized here tonight. Good night. Well, Marnie, I think it's that time to play our wind down and walk out song for the evening. So play. Celebrate good times. So congratulations and thank you very much.